I would be honored if Hans got introduced first.
Okay. Okay, Hans, tell us all about you. Everybody knows Hans anyways. They do. They
Yep.
really do. He's a big star. And believe it or not, you're making some traction on Haps as well, Ari, with your kindness. Everybody knows you, talks about you. I go in other broadcasts with other people and they bring you both up.
Oh,
And I'm
thank
starting
you.
to feel like chopped liver. But that's okay. I'm okay. I got room to grow here. All right.
Good
Hans?
morning and happy holiday to everyone, or good evening, depending on which part of the world you're joining us from. I'm Hans Seckman. I'm actually based out of Atlanta, so we're getting a little bit of the cooling weather this week, but certainly missing the 2 feet of snow and other horrible weather. So if you're stuck in that, my condolences and hope you get through it safely. I am also running a evening show, at least evening, about 5:15 Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays and Thursdays, where we talk about current IT issues, technology trends, and how they impact you both professionally or personally, depending on the topics. And I'm going to have a surprise guest. I'm trying to confirm which day, but talking about governance and how to set up governance models that don't crush your delivery and value. So that'll be sometime this week. So check it out. Hope to see you all there. Mr. Ari Gleisel.
Hi, Ari Glazel here. Nice to be on. Nice to be on Haps again. I work with these two fine gentlemen during the workday. Hans and I are on the same team. Long history in technology, software companies, development, product management. Avid reader, addicted to CNN and all different news channels, and just I look forward to these talks on Michael and Hans's show every time they come up.
Okay, so we talked in the green room briefly about some subjects we'd like to talk about. We've also know from history in the past that we never do that, but I would like to change it today. I would like this to be the first day we actually talk about some of the things that we talked about in the green room. So today, I would like to start it off. We'll try. Vaccine. How are we doing? How's Canada doing? By the way, it's Canada Day. So all my fellow Canadians, I love you.
Family Day. Yeah, Family Day.
Yes. Can I tell a quick story about Family Day? Because it warms
Please.
my heart. It really does. So when I was a young guy, very young, like maybe 10, Mr. Yale was the nicest man that I knew. And he was the guidance counselor at my high school. And I used to get in fistfights all the time. No kidding. There was a kind side and kind of an aggressor in me as well. So he would have me come in and talk to me about spiritual things and everything else. Well, my best friend growing up was his son, Rob Yale. And every Saturday he would come up to me and go, Michael, don't forget, Sunday is Family Day. Just for the family. Can't come by Sunday. So I thought I'd share that. So today, Canada's having its own Family Day. And Mr. Yale's not with us anymore. But I'll tell you, he really molded me into being a better human being. And I was just thinking about him today on Family Day. But really I love you, Mr. Yale, if you're out there and about. And make sure we have a good connection today. No dropping, no nothing. Okay. All right. Vaccines. Let's get in.
Well, if you follow the, press releases of the people who are in charge, they say things are getting a lot better. I have yet to see proof of that, and I would love to see more about how the distribution is actually taking place and how the breakout is going. On a previous one of our chats, we had a hospital administrator was wonderful that said, hey, they have no problem. They have more vaccines than they could use. Anyone can drop in and get them. And meanwhile, in Georgia and a lot of states, we don't even have enough to cover Group 1A yet, and we're sitting on 2 to 3 weeks of backlogs for appointments. So it's not even the sites or the access to the sites. We just don't have enough. So it's the continue to mask, continue to wash, and just wait it out until we can get them.
Can I ask a kind of strange question that I know everyone's asking in the back of their head? And you both can chime in. So when is life ever going to be somewhat normal again? Because
Today.
It's an
So
interesting
welcome.
answer.
So I'd say things change and evolve all the time. So what is normal is going to evolve. Certainly, this is a far bigger and more dramatic change, but uh, except for maybe some of the extent of the lockdowns, we're probably looking at what life will be for the next year or two, and with a lot more freedom. But masking up when you go into public places, Asia's been doing it for years, decades, because that's how they prevent diseases from spreading. We're probably going to be in the same boat. We'll have people who won't do it, but I think the masking, the washing, the sanitation, all of that is really this is going to be our new life, because you never know what the next bug is going to do. So I think for a certain point, being able to work from home, companies are now supporting that. I think that's here to stay. And I think people who are forced to come back into the office are just going to hop companies to one that's going to allow them to be productive. We heard Fritz yesterday, and Infotech approved him to work out of St. John in Antigua, because he's just as productive there and gets to spend time with family and his daughter. So I do think that a certain amount of what we're going through now is how it's going to be.
Yeah. So I agree with Hans that there is going to be some kind of new normal here. People's relationship with like certain body parts now are going to be considered more unclean than before, like your mouth. There are now no, I'm being serious, right? There are children now are looking at this and looking at, hey, my mouth is something that I need to protect and need to cover. I mean, that's a culture that's not going to be easy to undo. And, should we undo it? I don't think so necessarily. In addition, if you go back and look and you read about the time after the 1918, the worldwide flu pandemic, then it took years, even after the major deaths went away, for people to want to get back together in small groups. And so there were going to be different stages of this new normal. I do agree with you, Hans, that in what will be a really long tail is wearing masks. A shorter tail, but still a fairly long tail is, people aren't going to want to go to parties in the same way. People aren't going to want to get up close in the same way. I mean, I don't. Will there still be? And again, I'm way older than this, but would there be, still? Then I would never attend this. But like, are raves still going to happen? Are these things where people are really up close and a concert's going to happen? Are they going to happen in the same way going forward? I don't know the answer to that.
Do you miss the raves, Ari? Getting your groove on?
That was a very early 20 thing. Early 20 thing. No, I don't miss that. My body can't handle that anymore.
Yeah. So can I just add something with raves? So our company used to, do events. We don't do events anymore, and occasionally we would do a rave. And I would always laugh because we'd have people come in a week later and go, "I think I left my pants here. I left my wallet. I left my jacket. Is there a hat that looks like this? I'm missing a shoe."
Yeah, I've never understood that. Now we're going to starting to go way off topic, but I've never understood how someone can just lose their. Where did my pants go? Right? It's funny to talk about, but logistically, that's an odd situation to get yourself into.
But I miss concerts. Right? I really do. I miss the collective energy of having everybody in a room and everybody enjoying. And, no matter what kind of music you love, be it classical.
Live music's the best.
Yeah. So when I used to go see the Blues Guys, my Lord, that was my heaven on earth. That made me want to work hard through the week so I could treat myself on the weekend. Where now it's kind of like, well, I get to talk to Ari and I get to talk to Hans, and we're doing our own kind of orchestrated concert here, but it's not quite the same. And I'm noticing that we're seeing collaborations on HAPS where musicians are getting together and actually doing concerts. Yeah. But there's something about the vibration and the frequency of being together and being able to hug each other. And
I want to call out a quick comment here. I'm noticing the comments go by. Brother John wrote something, said this is nothing compared to the Spanish flu. And you're right. I wasn't implying that they're the same thing, but it's the only major worldwide flu model that we have to go on here. And so trying to extrapolate there. I'm not saying that this is as severe, but it is, where the severity is similar is its impact on the healthcare system. So
Yeah.
if God forbid a family member has a heart attack and I can't get into the hospital because it's full of COVID patients, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so there is a severity to the problem, but you're right. The severity in terms of death is not the same, and not pretending it is.
Hans,
There's
Hans,
a huge difference. Go ahead.
jump in the comments as well. This is very casual today. It's Canada Day. If you guys want to discuss stuff with us, as long as you don't get too crazy on religion or Trump, we're good. So
Perfect.
So I'll hit on two things. One, the biggest difference, but there's a couple huge differences between Spanish flu and the whole string of coronaviruses. We have some level of natural immunity and ability to fight influenza type viruses. So even without a vaccine, eventually, except for the high mortality rate that one had, swine flu has a higher mortality rate, we can generally overcome them. The problem is with coronaviruses is we're not at the moment genetically built to fight them off. So we are more susceptible to them. They're more severe when we get infected. Some of them are very mild, and we're seeing a lot of asymptomatic people. Others, like SARS, it had a 7 to 9% mortality rate, which was higher than the Spanish flu. And then Stephanie asked, well, how is it we could come up with a vaccine so much faster than we ever did in history? Actually, that's because our ability to do genetic sequencing and do it in hours and days instead of what used to take months. So they were able to quickly break down the genetic sequence of the RNA, which is basically the code or the blueprint that defines the virus. They were able to look at that, and then using some of our genetic engineering techniques, which are advancing amazingly fast, they were able to basically create an inert strain that looks and behaves like the virus, so that our bodies would react to it like we were being infected, but it can't actually reproduce and transmit. So in the old days, you grew a bunch of virus, you killed it so that it wouldn't replicate. Now we can actually, like a Lego set, assemble the virus, which is why they're even now tuning the virus to match the new strains. So they're modifying pieces of the RNA strains that are part of that vaccine, which means we'll be able to recognize and react to them faster. So it's science, it's not hoodoo, and it's not a conspiracy. Our science has gotten that good.
Yeah, and to Hans's point, just to be clear here, as these new variants, like the UK and the South Africa variant and the Brazil variant, start taking hold there, because of what Hans, the way Hans described it there, it's very easy to say, okay, we see this is a bit different here. Let's just reconfigure it. Air quotes just. There's a lot of science there, like Lego blocks, in order to put that, in order to build protection for the new strains. And so it's entirely possible that this vaccine, we might need to get an annual, like you can potentially get your own flu shot every year. This might maybe be a cocktail that's part of that flu shot in terms of that coronavirus protection, given the new strains that are out there. Entirely possible.
Can I throw a curveball? Can I throw a curveball just for a sec? It's in the same groove. I'm not talking about raves and people losing their pants, I promise. Okay. But some doctors are saying that vitamin D in large amounts is very effective, and just staying healthy and being fit and not being overweight and basically getting yourself in the best shape you possibly can.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I agree with that. Generally speaking, you get better health comes when you are healthy, right? That's not saying you need to be a perfect, in perfect shape, perfect all around. But I mean, with everything, you have better outcomes if you're just healthier. I mean, if just general colds, you get over it quicker. If you have surgery, you get over it quicker. Mm-hmm. I mean, I got a family member that went through a heart valve surgery. hyper healthy, super duper healthy.
Yeah.
She was up and at 'em in days. Where I can tell you there are other members of my family, if they went through that surgery, they would be they would be bedridden a lot longer. Why? Because of health.
Right.
Because they're much healthier.
Can we read some of the comments, Hans? Is that okay? Do you mind?
That's what I was. That's what I was
Okay.
going to
Thank
hit.
you.
So on the vitamin D, there's mixed results, but there are some indications that vitamin D is helping some people reduce the symptoms, but it's not proven. Vitamin C in recommended doses for years, Linus Paulding demonstrated that it is fantastic at helping our immune response and healing. Too much of it too much of anything can be toxic or bad, so don't eat the whole bottle. So as Stephanie says, how much vitamin D is enough? I would just take the recommended dose that's on the bottle, but also check with or ask your physician, because vitamins can counteract other medications you're on or cause other problems in certain people. So running it by your physician and saying, hey, I think I want to add vitamin D, go right ahead. I can't remember what I'm taking. It's the standard on the bottle. I'm not taking a souped up one. I added that. I always take a vitamin C in the morning. But it's, if your body doesn't need it, you're just going to waste flushing money. So if you want to take it, it's absolutely a good option. There was another comment. Let's see. So Denmark, they've developed a passport. Ultimately, I think will be the equivalent of that, and it'll probably be voluntary, especially for travel or international travel. I just can't see not having that. I don't know what it'll look like in terms of a receipt or proof, but cruises, flights now are asking for proof of a negative test, so that would be a receipt. I think we're going to see the same thing with a vaccine and vaccine
Agreed.
date, similar to, if you really want to see an extreme and Hollywood version of what goes through in the steps of a pandemic, and now I'm forgetting the name of it. Shoot. Oh well, I'll have to come back to it. There's a really good movie that I'll quick Google on the side because I'm drawing a blank, that actually covers the steps, but it's done with drama.
Like us here, done with drama, right? Because we've got brother John here. He's bringing some drama. We've got Donald Brandt. He's bringing definitely drama.
So I want to address brother John's comment here, and again, brother John, I'm addressing it out of respect and respect and deference to your position here. New flu shot for me in 30 years. For me, no vaccine. So if I interpret it as meaning no COVID vaccine for you, does the government have the right to force you to take it? Does the government have a right to force you to put something in your body if it's meant to help other people? If you not taking it puts other people at risk, does the government have the right to force you to take that vaccine? And I'm actually very curious. Your position on vaccines, I kind of don't want to touch, touch that. I want to touch the more mandatory sort of government side of this.
I think what we're going to see is it's going to vary greatly by country. So countries that have a more socialist or collective agenda, I think we're going to see that, and it's going to be forced, or you're going to be extremely restricted what you can do. In the US, I don't see it forced, except there are, and I talked to a person in HR about this. They work for a law firm and said, what is your law firm advising? And they said, don't require it unless you already have policies in place due to health and safety reasons that could extend to transmission of the disease. So for example, hospital workers have to go through more rigorous testing and health testing because they could infect immunocompromised people who have weaker immune system, people recovering from surgeries, going through chemo. They have to go through a more stringent review process. It is very likely they could be required to take the vaccine or move to a non-contact position.
I want to go in a different direction just slightly here, guys. It's in the same arena. This is kind of interesting. I'm just looking right now at some of the headlines here, and this one's I think fun. They now have in certain parts of the world where you can get your pets tested for COVID.
Yes.
And the people in the chat, would you get your pet tested? Say 1 for yes, 2 for no. Okay. So
Well, and so part of that is they have found that certain strains of the coronavirus can infect dogs. It doesn't seem to be making them very sick, but they can pass it along. I can't remember what they found about cats. I think the infection rate in cats has been negligible. Ferrets, weasels, animals like that, not only are they very susceptible, but the virus is mutating extremely fast, which is dangerous, which is why we're seeing quarantines of those farms, or unfortunately a large number of animals being put down because of the risk. If we have lots of variations, we could get worse. We could see things like the British variant right now that is passing. Read an article just recently that they discovered 5 different strains of the virus in a person who didn't know they were sick. So getting your pets tested, if they are, it's a good way of seeing if you're potentially exposed or infected. So I would say treat it the same way you're getting tested yourself.
okay, I'm going to read a headline.
Yep.
And I want you guys to chew on this. You ready? This is the Washington Post. I love when Ari looks at me like that. Michael, where are you going? Where are you going, Michael? Okay. Eroding trust, spreading fear, the historical ties between pandemics and extremism. Do you want me to read it again?
So, my response there would be pandemics is one kind of extreme event that impacts society and stows fear, just like similarly, though smaller in scope, with a terrorist attack or the threat of terrorism. It's to me, I look at them as similar in some ways, where it stokes fear in the population, and the population is looking for answers, scared of the why didn't the institution prevent this from happening before? Why are they curtailing my rights? Why are they asking me to do this? And all of that creates those feelings of disenfranchisement, extremism, fear. I look at them as, I think that's correct.
Do you know the one that bothers me the most about it? Eroding trust. Eroding trust. That one really bothers me. The spreading fear, I'm used to it. But I, especially between the States and Canada, we used to be the most civil, wonderful neighbors. And we've had moments in the last year where it's not been as good as it used to be. And I'm hoping that things will get healed, because for a while there, we weren't having the best relation. And I don't mean this room, Ari. We still love Hans. He's fine.
And I think that's a big challenge that we're seeing is, and the truthiness, to quote Stephen Colbert. It's very easy to take data and spin it in a way that sounds more plausible than the reality. There's a lot of misinformation or fears about that. The craziest, which somehow people believe, was that this is a Bill Gates conspiracy who is trying to microchip everybody. There's no way it even works. And even if you were microchipped, think about when we microchip our pets, you have to put the scanner right on top of them to see it. It's just ridiculous. But then again, 5% of most populations believe the Earth is flat. So in my mind, I just write off that 5%.
It's not? It's not?
No, it's not.
Can we go deeper into that? I didn't.
Certainly. You can go deeper and all the way around it.
I've always worried that if I kept walking, I'd fall off the end. So I just only walk so far, or I do circles. Okay.
People look for comfort. People look for comfort in very specific ways, and they want to find their own answers, their own truths to explain what's going on around them. It is an understandable trait, to be honest. I don't think it's something so, so radical or so weird. The problem is that how do you combat that? You combat that with, with data, with information, with engaging them in conversation, right? Which gets back to some of the, with some of the freedom of speech things and
I'm not
why I
laughing at you. Are you looking at the comments at the side here, the clips we have on the side?
I'm trying to not be distracted by it right now while I talk. It's turning into a little slideshow there, video show there. But it's about engaging these groups, right, and letting them know, like, look, I understand your position, but here's the data, and I believe in rational conversation all around. And look, some people will never believe you. They'll think that it's I'm going to use the term like a deep state conspiracy, and that all this weird stuff is going on, and that's fine. But how do you deal with that? You don't shove them into the shadows. You try to engage them.
Ari, there's I'm looking. I'm not going to post a picture because it's kind of nutty.
Sure.
But I'm going to read what's on the sign, and I want you guys to chew on what's on the sign. And I want the people, I know this will make the people in the comments extremely happy, because I think some of them are in this camp. You ready? This is a sign at a protest. COVID-19, the tests are rigged. The death count is false. And there is a camp that believe all of that, which is
yeah. And so before you dive in here, I just want to say very quickly, it's like, okay, then I'm very data driven. Then why do we see around the world, similar numbers? Why do we see in every medical body around the world, right? This isn't some weird, this is not some weird conspiracy or some plot from the elders of Zion or whatever, whatever insert group here that you want to think is pulling the strings here. I mean, there's just way too much data out there to say that this is false.
So early on, there were problems with some of the tests. Those have been largely worked out. And are the actual test numbers 100% accurate? Absolutely not. They are generally accurate. However, we are most likely, if not definitely, underreporting the number of people infected due to a lack of testing, due to people testing early before the virus is mutated enough to show up on a test. And if they came back a couple days later, they might test positive. And we are absolutely positively underreporting the number of deaths that may also be COVID related, because the only deaths now that are officially supposed to be reported, unless people are lying, and that's completely different, but is ones with there's a positive test and COVID is listed as a comorbidity factor to the death. So for example, I test positive for COVID, I have a heart attack. If my heart doesn't show signs of damage from the virus, I died of a heart attack even though I had COVID. Now, could have COVID made me sick? I had to work, my heart had to work, and that caused the heart attack? Possibly, but they're not recording those numbers.
Okay, it's time to go. We're going to go in a different direction. We have them. It's like a fencing, I feel like we have a fire going here, and we just keep adding lighter fluid.
I really need to make one comment here. I'm just seeing Brother John's comments here, and Michael, I'm just gonna let me step.
I know you are. You are you. You go get him.
No. It's not about getting him. I respect his position that he's raising here, but so the comment is COVID is real, but the numbers are skewed. Remember, money and politics is involved. Very true, absolutely. But that doesn't make the numbers invalid. That doesn't mean that you don't need a mask. Okay. That doesn't mean that that doesn't mean you shouldn't, worry about your neighbor, worry about the elderly. And so, two things can be true at the same time. That's all. Okay. I'm done.
I love when you get that adrenaline rush in you and you're ready to go. I like that side of you. It's good. It's very good. Okay. We're going to go in a different direction for a little bit. Okay. We're going to talk about people that are in the restaurant industry, which is business as well, and those who survive off of tips, and they're not getting tips right now at all.
Yeah.
And we've got families where nobody in the household is making any form of money at all, and they're trying to do whatever they can to get supports, go to food banks. The lineups are down the street. But do you guys see in the future where we're going to be able to go to a restaurant, have a meal, even if it's restricted in some way? And, I want you to put your prediction caps on, your intuitive side, and saying, what's it going to look like in 6 months?
We're going to be wearing masks to a restaurant and take them off when we sit down. I don't see that changing. But we'll be able to go to a restaurant.
Is there going to be plastic barriers in between? Are we going to be like the boys in the bubble? Like, how does this work?
So in Georgia, being not quite Florida, but one of the pilot states that is more aggressive at getting things open than worrying about safety, we're seeing plexiglass or other physical dividers between booths. Great, it might block a little bit of a sneeze or a cough, but I don't see them helping much. I would expect that a lot of states will go to 50% seating sometime this summer or fall. If the numbers continue to stay moderate or declining like they are now, I think we're going to see a lot more opening up. I think that Canada and Europe are going to definitely be later adopters. So I don't know how I think that we'll see things opening up towards this end, but I don't know how things will open up before we hit the next, inside flu and cold season, which is going to bump up numbers again. But eventually, as Donald says, eventually everything will open up. It might be different. There might be different procedures. Some of the new UV technologies that are not harmful or they don't believe are harmful to people could be used. The problem is right now, the ones that work effectively are very expensive. The cheap ones you can buy online, you have to let the item sit for potentially 20 minutes to hours, depending on the intensity of the light. So you're just better spraying something off with sanitizer or alcohol, letting it dry off naturally. The UV sanitizers are just not commercially viable right now.
Okay. You guys enjoying the subjects today? Because we're having a feeding frenzy in the comments. This is a very different show than yesterday. I think people dig in more on the pandemic than they do on cybersecurity. Who knew? So John Tory, if you live in Toronto, is our mayor, and he's saying we're entering into the gray zone. I feel we've been in a gray zone for a while, if you're talking spiritually. But how is everybody in their neck of the woods where they are across the world? Because we do get people from all over the world who have to see these two individuals. They wait all week. So, some of them, pray and go, is it Sunday? Is it Sunday yet? No, sir, it's Monday. It's Monday. But Hans has a show through the week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Oh, good. There's relief. I have time. I have time now with him. It's good. So please see Hans. We were doing a shameless plug here, buddy. Sorry. Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you feel you haven't had enough Hans on Sundays, go visit him. And here's the other thing. If you really want to help us, you talk about wanting to help us, reshare these, like them, force your relatives to watch them. Step up. It's time. Ari and I, we're fed up with it. We don't want just comments. We want collaboration. You want to talk about, you want to change the world, share, like, retweet. Make people you maybe don't like, watch it. We'd be okay with that. And get them to comment. And we love that you're commenting. Oh, it's 11:11. That's so funny.
Thank you, Brother John. Thank you.
Yes, let there be light, Brother John. Let there be light. All right. Okay, enough of that. Where are we going now? What's the new subject?
So I'm gonna parlay off of your positivity.
Thank you.
And part of it is, I'll call it's the evening news echo chamber, where if we look for bad news, conspiracies, we're going to find them, and we're going to put ourselves in an echo chamber and confuse the volume of information with the accuracy. And so I would challenge most people to stop looking at or focusing in on the news, the negative, going down the rabbit holes of whether there's a giant industrial pharma conspiracy that caused the virus just so they could sell vaccines at cost. I don't see it, but then again, I'm looking at other information. So I'd say try and look for outlets and media that are more positive. Try and look on the bright side. So for example, yes, restaurants are struggling and the people who are getting tips are hurting. So I always tipped a lot, but now I'm tipping far more than I ever did before. Sometimes as much as the meal, because I'm not going out much. I want to help the people because I want them to be here. But if we look at the other side, look at how many restaurants have converted to takeout and expanded their market and are doing all right. Look at how much better our working conditions are for some people, where instead of having, the 2-hour commute, we now are home and spending more time with our families. These are really good things that are going to carry forward.
Yes.
We just have to shift our perspective and try and find some of the good news out there and not just wallow in self-depression.
Agreed.
We need to go find a new city where there's snow and children playing and times of people not wanting to attack Brother John, but actually wanting to hug him.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'll tell you what's given me comfort and given me peace. I mean, there is, appreciating your family if you're fortunate enough to have one in the house that you're in and loved ones there. But if you're talking about sort of the news and just the focus on information and how do I make myself feel better, it's not by just closing down and just watching only your MSNBC or your Newsmax, but understand what all the perspectives are saying. I mean, a lot of times when I'm watching something, I'm curious to hear what CNN says about it. I'm curious to hear what MSNBC says about it. I'm curious to hear what our CBC in Canada says about it. I'll go listen to what Newsmax and OAN are saying about it as well, just to give me that that perspective. And you know what? They're all kind of correct. They all are, they're all approaching it with a specific lens on it, and understanding those lenses gives me comfort because it gives me more understanding. Okay. And that's something that, if I could give anybody advice on how to, stop them from feeling terrible about themselves and stop, really getting so stressed, is seek out different positions and don't make that position your identity. Right? Just because, so-and-so watches more CNN and so-and-so watches more CBC or so-and watches more Newsmax doesn't mean, you're an awful or better human being. But appreciate that there are other positions and take comfort in the fact that, we're in a country or we're in a society where we are free to come to things with different perspectives.
Absolutely. Okay. And when in doubt, play with puppies.
Yes. So, anybody know who's in this photo? We're going to switch it up here. We're going to have a fun moment. Anybody know who that is?
He's the greatest of all time, Cassius Clay.
That's Muhammad Ali. Yes.
Yes. Now, the person, since we went into the warm, fuzzy part of the broadcast, has fallen asleep here on the bench. Prior to that, they're ravished. But, if we go warm and fuzzy, we lose a few of them. They go for a nap, I think. But it's okay. We can't please everybody. We got to just do our best. That's why we're here. We're back, and listen, Brother John, we are watching you. We are watching you closely. Okay? And we're watching the comments. But the comments, if anybody wants to watch the rebroadcast, watch it with the comments. I think you'll get a whole new level of entertainment just for a second.
So tying in our last conversation with a little more positivity and the tech aspect and the business aspect. So the Consumer Electronics Show happened not too long ago, and it was virtual. But one of the big trends that ended up coming out of that was a lot more devices to be connected, better headsets, more comfortable, better noise reduction, better earbuds. Our phones, like I've been reading about the new Samsung Galaxy phone and the video quality on that, the ability to shoot 4 and I think even 8K video.
It's ridiculous.
And it's in your phone.
8K?
Yes. I think it can do limited 8K. It's just outstanding. So what are some of all the possible technologies and things coming out over the next year? What are some of the ones that are getting you excited? My phone's too new, so I've got to wait a little bit for the Galaxy. But what are some of the things that you're really excited about, or games or game platforms? Because I know, Ari, you're a big gamer, and I'm game illiterate.
So things that I'm excited about. So for me, any of the games that let me connect with others, I really like. Multiplayer games, that kind of thing, I'm really excited about. And you're right, the technology here. I mean, I have one of those Samsung phones that, I could theoretically shoot an 8K if I want to. 10 seconds would fill out my phone, but anyways, but yeah, you're right, you're seeing a dramatic change for the better in terms of things that improve connectivity, things that make it easier to connect with others, to game easier, to be more comfortable, be professional. And I like Donald Brand posted, I think there was an ad you posted. There are a few things you're posting there. But yeah, there's a few great reviewers in there, like the Techni, if you want to understand some of the CES 2021 coverage, like really, really great coverage there. And yeah, it's accelerated a lot of COVID, again, done a lot of terrible things. But again, try to find, pulling a Michael here, trying to find the light from the shadows here. And, one of the big things is that it has improved, it has greatly accelerated certain connectivity options, digitization, maybe things that would have taken 10 years to do, we had to do in 10 months.
So we're seeing in the comments here, robots doing dishes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and eventually, like we used to be an agricultural. Then we shifted to industrial, and with more modern farming techniques, we were able to reduce the man hours needed to produce a lot more crops. Then the industrial, then we've replaced people with robots. Some jobs are always going to be replaced by machines, but we're moving to the point where a lot of the routine stuff why do we need a person to do it? Like, I had to vacuum this morning because we have a dog that sheds way too much. I shouldn't, why am I wasting my time vacuuming? I could be here talking with you all if I had a machine that could adequately do it. And in my case, the Roomba, the amount of dog hair I vacuumed this morning was bigger than our old Roomba. And our old Roomba died because it choked to death on dog hair and broken tennis balls, and actually physically broke the wheel. So it's just not, that tech isn't there yet. But I think there's a lot of things, like if there's ever, the mysterious Star Trek or whatever food machine where you just type in your recipe or whatever you want and it produces edible quality food. Oh my word. I can't wait to the day where I can go up to my refrigerator, punch in a code, and get really good synthetic sushi if it tasted the same and was good for you.
Amen. I would love that.
A lot of people say they feel like they're always doing dishes.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the things I miss most about visiting Hong Kong is at in a lot of the subway exits, there's a $1 sushi to go, and you can get just super cheap but really good sushi. And so as we'd be out shopping or visiting anything, every time I popped a sushi place, I'd buy a couple rolls, I'd eat those and snack along while my wife was shopping. It was wonderful. I wish we had that in Atlanta.
Wish we had that too here. I hear you.
So Michael is asking for a link to the camera. Need to get a decent one.
Well, here's the thing. Multiple people who follow me on Haps have realized, and now I got to be real with everyone. I also have cameras that are more money, but what I try to do is make sure that I show things that work that are affordable, right? So we now have several people in Europe who've bought this camera. We have several people who've bought it in the States. I highly recommend this here. Oh, I think you can see it here.
How much is that?
This one runs, the total cost is in Canada, it's about $80. Now, if you buy it in England, it's $50. If you buy it in the States, it's as low as $45, $50. I highly recommend this one. It does 60 frames per second We'll do it sideways like this too, just for chucks and giggles. But if you know what's more important than a camera, honest to God, so you can have the silky sounds here. There's another shameless plug.
Yeah.
So this here is the fine. So let's say you're single, right? And you're having a rough time out there. And let's say you're not the best looking man in the world, but you could always go, "Hello, baby. I'm here for you when the world is not." So
Suits you perfectly, Michael.
that would
Sorry.
be worth the $80 or $60, depending where you are. But we will leave those links. And, you know, I know that Ari is willing to show you how to speak in such a manner. I personally don't have that kind of time. But we wish you well. Until next time. Thank you. Okay.
I'm using, and it's more expensive than that. I'm using the Logitech C920, which is that, you know, really, you know, the old faithful. You know,
Yes.
I bought the brand name. It was $100 Canadian plus tax, so 113 Canadian. You know, convert that into freedom dollars at whatever the current rate is. But that's you know, it's pretty good. Oh, Fifine. Yeah, Fifine makes some nice mics. I have a Fifine mic that I use if I'm not going to use my headset, which I like.
Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, Mickey. Okay. There you go. It's all free. The singing's free. It's all free. So listen, we're getting great numbers on the show here, guys. Look at this.
Excellent.
We're at 205. There's been absolutely a little bit of... see, I think you need a little friction with every show, don't you, Hans? You need rapid fire comments in the and get people going. So
hey, Michael, what's the
Mhm.
model on the You're So Fine? The mic blows my mind because Von Allen said couldn't quite see the model. It was cut off in the portrait.
Can I tell you something about Fifine? You can't buy a bad mic from them. Even if you buy their cheapest mic, that's what I started with. It was great.
Yep.
Now you want to talk about smooth voices? We got Colin Porter here.
Oh yeah.
Colin,
he's smooth.
He's smooth. Like I'm telling you, he's the only guy I know that has scopes and only women go. But that's another show. Sorry about that. Sorry.
So
I got
a few of the
derailed.
comments. The Yeti. I'm not using it now. I'm using my Game One headset because I love the fact that I can flip it up and it mutes. And in groups like this, it's just easier for me to flip it up because I can type and not distract. Whereas with the Yeti, I'm really bad about hitting the mute button or forgetting which way I've toggled it. I actually did the blue Yeti. I decided to pay a little extra. I caught it on sale, so it ended up being about $20 or $30 more than I can't remember the name of the mini Yeti, but they're all really good. But I figured at some point I might want that higher quality setting, so I went ahead and cried once and just bought the blue Yeti. But it's phenomenal. Like the audio quality puts even this headset to shame. And then I use it with a combination of Bluetooth ear beads so that I don't have the giant Help Me Obi-Wan Princess Leia headset on. I just decided not to do that today. Actually, well, while we're doing this, we got a minute. I will switch over while you guys are entertaining.
Sure. Absolutely.
He's got to take a break. He's taking a pause for the cause, I think. Yeah.
No, a lot of great comments today. Really appreciate it. And to your point, Michael, we need to be able to, to come closer together. We need to be able to talk about the hard stuff, right? I mean, if I don't necessarily, agree or that makes people a little bit uncomfortable, as long as we're not being hateful, we should be able to do it, right? I mean, I've made a few comments to Brother John that I don't necessarily agree with all of his views, with all due respect, but that doesn't mean that I dislike him or think he's a bad person. It's just I disagree, and and let's talk about that. So it's I think it is okay to bring up challenging topics as long as everyone approaches it again like it's not their identity. That my self-worth isn't wrapped up in what I see on channel X or Y.
Well, I just want you to know the all-seeing eye is watching you, and the karma train is coming. So, and it's the same for you and Brother John. Brother John can give it, so he should be able to take it. Right? I've known Brother John a long time, a really long time, longer than I've known you two. I've known him for over 10 years. Keep going.
And Donald brings up a great point, and Ari said the same thing with Fifine.
if you find a brand that produces good stuff, generally you can't go wrong with a lot of their items. Maybe if they have a really cheap or budget or entry level, it's just not going to have the quality you want. But Logitech, I mean, they are all about office productivity, video and audio conferencing. So they put out some really great stuff. I've got a Sound Blaster mixer to enhance the Blue Yeti that I just switched over to.
Yeah.
Why? Because they've been a premium brand for audio and audio equipment for years. So I decided that rather than buy unknown, I'll say could be good, could be junk, I was serious about this. And so it was worth investing several $100s in upgrading what I had. It was okay before, but I decided to basically set aside, and I think my office setup right now is under 500 US for that quality, not counting the stuff that I bought and didn't like and got rid of. But if with what I've bought and recommended, you can get by with a lot less. Like Fifine will save you money. There's good video cameras that will do the same. I just decided to upgrade a bit.
Yeah.
Now, if you have the budget that Ari's got, and Ari, if you can, and I'm being real, that was not a slap. What? Listen, I'm misunderstood all the time.
No. I'm curious
Ari,
what you mean.
I'm coming from love.
I'm curious what you mean. I'm curious what you mean. I don't know what you mean. Yeah.
Well, I drive
a 12-year-old car and an 8-year-old car, by the way. All right, I don't consider myself to be a baller.
Well, you've got a nice set of headphones.
Thank you very much.
And I wanted to share that for those who are in that top 2% who can afford those headphones.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So these are my gaming headsets, and these on my gaming desk, and it just has a really great mic. It's the Logitech G Pro X wireless. I'm going to take it off for a second here, and Hans, you can give the nice talk track while I show it off. All right, so.
Okay.
These headsets are both light and comfortable. They provide all-day conference calling foam so that your ears don't get smushed or tidal. They expand to fit almost any head size except for Bratz dolls. The mic is easily adjustable, contains sound-baffling design, does not pick up the breathing or sniffling sounds, and allows you to hear footsteps during gaming and broadcast like a champion. These headsets brought to you today by Ari Gleisel and Ari Gleisel Industries.
Thank you very much.
Agreed. And you'd have to drive a 12-year-old car to afford those headphones. But there we go.
You're right. But you know what? I have some crazy hobbies, and one of them is headphones, actually. I have even more expensive headphones.
You like tech. You're like me. I like tech.
I do. I buy too much tech. I mean, I like buying, chairs and whatnot to support me with tech and all this kind of stuff. But yes,
chairs are important. Do you have a good chair? Do you have a good chair you want?
I have an okay chair. I'm picking up a better chair shortly. I haven't gotten myself to a point where I've convinced myself that like a Herman Miller Aeron is the right thing for me, because you're getting up to $2,000 for retail. I know you can get it cheaper used, but you don't know how used it is. So I don't know. But I believe if I can spend $500, get a really good chair that's going to last, that's comfortable, that supports my back, I don't have an issue with that.
I got a leather chair from the dumpster cell at my apartment here when a person left. So they left the planet, they left the chair, and I took it. I was very happy. So thank you to that person. I have actually no car, but I just thought I would share that. Okay.
Ari, what's the model number of your headset?
I'm grabbing it right now. I'm just going to grab the URL and stuff it in there.
So the one I use, it's not wireless, but it's the Sennheiser Game 1. And they have a couple right around that $100 price mark. And for me, it's super comfortable, nice padded foam. It doesn't squish your head, but the ability to rotate the mic and mute, for me, I'm on conference calls, half of every day. My typing is loud because I bang away like a idiot monkey on the keyboard trying to get my thoughts out as I'm doing. So having that flip up to mute for me was critical. And that was a decider for me. And I think the mic quality on that is exceptional as well. Sennheiser, Logitech, there's a couple other, even for work, if you look at the gaming headsets, generally the gaming headsets are going to be higher quality and really good for video calls and really increase how people perceive you in meetings.
Yes. So, Ari needs to leave. Do you need to leave, Hans? Are you good to go for a little longer?
No, I'm good to go.
Okay. So, Ari, why don't you do your form of gratitude? Then we'll beam you down. We might beam somebody up.
Perfect.
And we are so grateful that you were here today. I felt like this was elevated again by your energy, your spunkiness, your tenacity. I loved it. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And I really genuinely appreciate. And honestly, the other night I saw a beautiful side of you, a very kind person who was helping out as well. So like myself, there's many, many levels to this wonderful man. Get to know him, follow him. Hopefully he'll have his own channel and, he'll be spreading light. But the problem is he's got a full life. Yeah.
So I'll tell you, I'm grateful actually for the chat and the participation and everyone being able to share their views and, no animosity and, very much respect that. And, feel free to reach out to me on, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on whatever the case may be. And, I'll gladly give you the time if you want to chat. I'm not quite here with Haps yet, as Mike said, but we'll see.
Yeah, but we're grateful, and you're going on, I would say 2 to 3 times a week, and you're getting to know the Hats platform. You're really engaging with a lot of different people. And see, and that's the thing. If you have really kind, genuine, authentic energy, people know it, they respond to it. And I feel like the 3 individuals in here, including the all-seeing eye, are connected to higher sources. And I really appreciate it. And Hans is going, please, someone hit him. Okay. All right.
Amen. All the best, folks. Take care.
Take care, buddy. All right. There he goes. It's just us. Okay. Is it okay? Okay.
Of course.
I've got an idea here. So you talk about what you want to talk about, and I'm just going to...
And so, as Brother John brought up, that Sennheimer normally is really great, and probably the bad audio quality. It's my voice. I don't like it either. So the mic can only pick up and do so much. I do think the Blue Yeti and with the mixer that I've got in definitely puts out a better audio quality. My problem is I usually stick to the headset because the mute is easier, and if I have earbuds in longer than an hour and a half, my ears start hurting. I just haven't found a pair that is comfortable and has the battery life to really make it through a day or even through a couple back-to-back calls. So I think that headset's been good. I'm sure, like Ari's, there's some better ones out there. I'm going to stick with what I've got for now, just because I've wasted enough money buying stuff. So I'm trying to be a little more responsible.
But, I disagree with you on that. I don't think you can ever spend too much money on your brand, because your brand is so important. And it might... Here's the thing we should discuss, and we never discuss this, and I don't know why we don't, and it's super important. Your presence on social media can get you a job. It can also lose you a job. So
Absolutely.
if you go on and become a nasty curmudgeon and think that's worth it for the ratings, you are now devaluing your brand. But if you look good and sound good on a broadcast, it means a lot, right?
Yep. One of the better tech chats I had was with Leslie Hughes. She's a personal branding and LinkedIn specialist that helps people establish their brand and even extend them into arenas like this. And it only takes one misunderstood message to potentially tank your career or cost you a job. In the same vein, I've shared that 2 of the last 3 positions that I've had actually came from somebody who saw me speak at a conference, attended a session, and loved what I said so much, they brought me on to help them with a at-risk client. And that work went well enough that they brought me on for the current job. So you never know who's in the audience that may be able to bring something of value, or that you may find, that next rock star person for your team. You may find them online in a chat here. I know I've already identified a few people that I've met through here or through similar webinars over the last couple of months that would be on my short list to hire if I needed somebody with their skill set.
Yeah, and the thing is too, you never know what doors you're opening. Like the ultimate wisdom that I heard this morning was from Randy W. Horton, and he talked about during this pandemic, there are a lot of people who are seizing the day and making boatloads of money by rethinking the way things work and anticipating where they need to be, what's the next step, what is the next need. And the companies that do that effectively will stay in business, but also thrive.
Yes.
Do you agree with that? And
absolutely. And I am a huge believer in karma. Whether karma exists or not, I don't know, because all I have is anecdotal evidence. But the more generous I am with my time, with money, with doing simple things like when you walk into the store, grab the loose carts and bring them with you. You're already going. It doesn't take that much effort. And it's not like I'm costing someone their job. I'm just letting them focus in on the carts that are in the return part. I have found that the more I give out, the more I try and help people, the better my life is. And those times where I'm a little more selfish, I'm a little hateful or short-tempered, I start noticing bad things happening. Now, maybe it's just my perception, and that when I'm doing good, I'm looking for good. But for me, I've had too much value come back to me after really trying to help and work with others and be a better person. So I'm going to keep at it, because whether it's real or not, I'm a happier person for doing it.
Yeah. But right now, especially right now, and I want to end the show on this, is that I totally disagree with you. I don't think you can spend too much money on your brand. I think this is the sounding good is probably the most important. You can probably have a subpar camera, as long as it's like the camera I've got right now is good enough. Because here's the thing. They're only broadcasting in 720 anyways.
Right.
So if you buy this 4K, 8K, you're wasting your money. But the microphone is a huge thing, especially if let's say you have a great voice, but you don't feel comfortable being on air. You can then do podcast. And that is another way to shine your light. And I really believe that everybody has seeds of greatness in them. You have to harvest them. Think about yourself. When we talked about this for months for you about let's do something together. I almost got to a point where I gave up. And then Haps came, and then Ari came in, and then we got Andy in, and we've got Carmi in, we had Adib. I'm probably missing some people too. Who else am I missing? But we've had a lot of guests, and we'll have more guests in the future. And what happens is, once people see that there's an infectious flow, people are enjoying themselves. Like, Fritz was like, oh, I don't know, this is kind of out of my wheelhouse. And I said to him, it's just like friends talking. The only thing you got to be careful of, don't get too comfortable.
Right. Well, it's like anything. You want to get better. And so for me, part of it was I needed to get things organized. I needed to figure out how this was going to extend my brand, where I was going to draw the limits. And then for me, to your point, I wasn't willing to go on camera until I could broadcast at least at a reasonable quality that reflected my brand and who I was. And for that, I had to make some changes I had to get my backdrop or background set up, and it was a failure. So now I went ahead and built out the IKEA shelves that are behind me, and I'm decorating those so that it's something that I think is acceptable. If my headset was really bad, I would absolutely invest in something that maybe Ari has and spend $200 or $300. I think it is good enough and good enough quality for what I do.
Oh, it's perfect.
I just need to switch over to the Blue Yeti to Brother John's standpoint when I
Mhm.
really want to come over at that next level. So I've already
Yeah.
got that. I just need to stop being lazy and use it instead of just throwing on my headset, which is super easy, but isn't quite the quality it probably should be.
Well, and the great thing is too, and I don't know if you know this, but I've noticed this with my morning show, is I have a lot of individuals that don't watch the program. They just listen to it. So that, and because the audio is exceptional with the Fafine, they love it and they get to listen to it, they get to connect. And a lot
Yes.
of them know the personalities in the room anyways and already have the visual cues in their mind. So we've developed a family here. We really
Yes.
have. But
And,
always remember that you don't know which eyes are watching, though. Always.
yep.
Please be aware of that, folks.
And there's really two things. If there's just two things you're going to do right when you're on HAPS or broadcasting, the audio quality of your mic makes a huge difference. The perception of your voice, the strength that comes through, that is probably, if I was going to invest in any one area, I'd say make sure you have a good mic. You don't like the Fafine. You don't have to spend a fortune on it. My Blue
No.
Yeti, I think, was right around the $120 mark. It's a sizable investment, but the quality was worth it. The second is you don't have to spend a lot of money, but look at what the camera's showing and see if you can work out the lighting and find even a neutral background. Like Leslie's broadcasting in front of the brick wall in her
Yeah.
basement where she lives. That's okay. The lights I'm using is I have two simple LED panel lights. They're small. They come with tripods. They were $40 on sale from Amazon. They're
Yeah.
also in my list that I shared up above in the comments. I can adjust the lighting, but it makes things even. If I, and I'll show you, it's utter crap. If I pop the lights off, hold on. If I do bad lighting, then all of a sudden I've got harsh shadows. All it's picking up is the lights I have for my background. And, you know, for $40, this made a huge difference.
It does. It does. The other thing we haven't addressed before we go to, is that the most important thing is your internet connection. If you have crappy bandwidth, you're done. You're done. Yet all the other things you've done don't make any difference unless you're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, then it doesn't matter. You can make your content. It can upload over an afternoon, but you'll still have a great. But if you're broadcasting, and I've gotten to a point, and I've had people like Brother John say that I'm a snob and an anal and all this other stuff, but I like to have guests that have really good quality. So today, if you notice, all three of us, great bandwidth, great sound. The content, depending on who you are and what was said to you in the comments, you may feel is different.
And to Von Allen, absolutely. So I have that same, ADD. That I can't help but focus on looking at every detail in someone's background. So I actually spent almost a full day picking out and putting stuff on the shelves that would reflect aspects of me and my personality. And then because, I have a lot of repeat calls, whether it's with the people I work with, our HAPS friends here. So I plan on randomly changing out some of the images, some of the pictures, just to give a variety and almost play like the Where's Waldo in the background. Like the polar bears. It's something that I found at an art fair, and I just love the couple. I love this. It doesn't show up well, so I may swap it out. The other photos are photos that I actually took, and I just finally got more frames in, so I'm going to add to those. And then the drawing that's right over my shoulder, actually my sister-in-law painted. That was for when my niece came out of the hospital. She painted that as kind of a celebration or a triumph that she had made it through brain surgery and was going to be okay. And to me, that love, that compassion, that type of thing, I wanted to be able to, when I'm having a rough time on a call or having a bad day, to be able to look in the camera and see that reflected back and go, you know what? It could be a heck of a lot worse, and people overcome more. So for me, that's there for inspiration. The rest is just going to be fun.
I don't
games.
see anything but the brains one, buddy. To be honest with you, the other thing is switch it up when you can, and if you know local artists in your area, maybe highlight their work in the back, put their stuff on your back wall. And please try not to be, if you can, in your bedroom with your bed in the back, like that kind of stuff just isn't good. You'd be better off to have a piece of plastic or something in the background, or a sheet, anything. I've seen people use elaborate rugs that are beautiful. Yesterday we had that lady who believed that she had been taken away by the aliens and had the wings. Remember? I love the wings. They were beautiful. So we all have our brand. You have to figure out what that is and be comfortable with who you are, your imperfections.
And Brother John's right. You can buy green screen kits on stands and fabric, or I had one that actually folds up, and I tried that. And for me, I was having too much issues getting consistent backlighting on the green screen. Yeah. And the other problem was I was getting haloing between my headset. So I always had, that's why I ended up buying the Blue Yeti as well, because the videos I do for work, our video crew they did not like the green screen. They didn't like the virtual background. So that's when I decided I'm in a very, very small office space. It just didn't work out for me, but I'm going to play with it some more. I know it's because I don't know how to use it. But the green screen, and then I switched over to just a plain black background. It was boring, but it worked until I could actually get something decent.
Yeah, it's a progression, right? So, and the other thing too, as you make money on HAPS, which everyone will at your own pace, use some of that money to reinvest in your product, because the better your product, the more that you're going to get sponsorship. You're going to have people who maybe, like even some of this tech stuff in the future, we may, go through it and go, no, rush it, flush it. This is not worth your time. But hopefully they'll start sending us stuff. Now, the other thing too is you only have so many hours in the day.
Yes.
And I've noticed too that certain individuals, this has become an addiction, which is very dangerous. I've seen people on here for 8 to 10, 12 hours. And content is thrown out the window. You'd be better on to be on twice. Let's say you really love it and you love doing it. Let's say you're on for 2 hours every day, period. These scopes that are 3, 4, 7, 8 hours long, no one's ever going to watch all that.
Right.
And ideally, if we were smart, we would stop it and start it. But the problem is you lose the crowd. You really do. Yeah. And sometimes connect.
Like Mike said, find the format, find the time, find something that speaks to what you're interested in. Michael does some wonderful shows that are very participant driven and talking to people. I don't have his skill. I'm not an extrovert. I don't have his emotional intelligence. So for me, that's harder. So I decided I needed to be more structured. I have it scheduled generally the same time every week because I need that. And then I'm inviting guests I can talk to that we have something in common to make it entertaining. Now, maybe in the future, as I build my ability to have better conversations with others, we'll do that more. But for me, that's what I found was going to work and got me broadcasting. And for me, it's not the monetization. It's the extension of the brand and building content that I can then share. And I share it for free because this is stuff that I care enough about that I want other people to know so they don't have to suffer, or that they could do better and be better and not have to spend, like I spent probably 40 hours doing reviews of all sorts of equipment. Instead, you can look at the article I wrote and I'll give you 5 options and you can pick between them, or you can spend 40 hours doing your own reviews. But I'm trying to make things a little easier.
Here's the other thing before we go in, and I want HAPS to know this, is that this is a wonderful format in the sense that it has all the pro tools. They do have some glitches. Since Hans and I have been on here, it's only gotten better and better every week. We're able to do more things every week, and just be patient. And know, because we can simulcast up to 5. Like now, I love that I'm on Twitch. This is on Twitch. So let's say a year from now, I get sponsored through Twitch only because I clicked a link. every morning. I did nothing different than had a link. That's it. So it can open doors for you sometimes in the most uncommon areas, right? And you're going to meet individuals you probably would have never met in a million years, thanks to the wonderful technology of HAPS, the internet. Hans, let's say goodbye.
Yep.
And thank you, everyone. We hope to see you in the future.
Hold on.
Oh,
your show always has to end with what do you appreciate? What are you grateful for?
You hate that.
Yes, but it's part of your trademark. And so I'm going to kick it off and then give you a second as well.
All right.
So my mother-in-law has this beautiful Chinese furniture set. And recently 2 people were over having dinner and leaned wrong and basically partially broke 2 of the chairs. So I spent a couple hours yesterday fixing them.
Mm-hmm. I saw that.
I spent an hour this morning. I'm going to go spend another hour on the second one. But I really thought I had messed up, and I thought I had ruined the chairs because, a Gorilla Glue expands and foams. So while it's drying, you're constantly wiping it off, trying to even it out. And somehow overnight more escaped, but I was actually able to get it off and it looks good. And so I am so thankful that I don't have to return chairs that I just ruined to my mother-in-law, that I think they'll pass her quality standards. So I'm really thankful that worked out.
Yay. Right now, Vaughn Allen is, I think, really enjoying your honesty and the comments that you sent back. And thank you. So, and Brother John.
I'm right with you.
Brother John, thank you for your contribution and staying the duration. And maybe in the future, we'll have you up as well. And you and Ari can stare at each other with a loving gaze, something. I'm going to leave it alone.
Glazed over.
Yeah, I felt a bit of that today. Yeah, exactly. And the faces are free. So I'm currently grateful for just the community here on HAPS. I love all the support that I've gotten from certain individuals like Fraser and Randy W. Horton, and even the CEO of HAPS, Mark. Thank you so much. And even the tireless hours that Pablo works. And so, you know what? We just need to take a moment, take a breath, be grateful that we're here in this moment in time in 2021, and just let's celebrate the friendship, especially during Family Day here in Canada. Have a glorious week. Take care. Hope to see you in the future. Do not miss Hans' show tomorrow. And I meant what I said. If you want to help us, please reshare, tweet, make people you don't like watch these programs. Take care. Bye-bye.